But so why is it, do you think, that there are some people that give in, whereas others fight?
Very, very evolutionary in terms. The fight or flight response was one of the most common instincts that people have, and somewhere deep down we still have this. The idea is either we face the foe or we run away from it. But as this idea has developed, psychologists have said that maybe some people have something called an internal locus of control or an external one. Now, this is just a model. It's an idea of how people might think. People with a strong internal locus believe that they have a lot of control over the environment. They do something, it affects the environment. Somebody with a very strong external locus tends to believe that no matter what they do, it's almost either fatalistic or somebody else has more power. And unfortunately, due to upbringing, that can also be reinforced and learned. So if you're in a situation whereby you throw your toys out of the pram and an adult comes along, picks them back up again, you have an idea that if you do something, a response will happen. But if, say, you've been neglected, or if that support is inconsistent, you may begin to learn that no matter what you do, you don't know whether anything will happen. And then you begin to learn a form of helplessness. You begin to think, well, it doesn't matter what I do, it won't work out for me. So some people just simply haven't been taught ways of managing and building resilience. So it's not as clear-cut as we're either born with it or we're not. It can be learned, but the good thing is, if it can be learned, things can be unlearned, things can be changed, and behaviour is dynamic.
That was my next question, actually. How can people actually get stronger and be able to face situations then?
One of the biggest things is actually to recognise what strength is. A lot of the time, when we've been through difficult times, we go into survival mode. So this becomes, I will become hard and I will get there. And that's not actually strength. That maybe putting up a barrier, but strength is recognising that we are vulnerable and accepting that it's okay, that we do feel pain, we do feel hurt, shame, guilt, all of these emotions that we don't like expressing. But in recognising and accepting that this happens and it's okay, that's how we build up our strength. So first of all, it's recognising really that strength is not just shutting everybody out, it's recognising our vulnerability. Thinking about who we hang around with is really important.
That's very important.
Some people are quite toxic to our mental well-being. And sometimes the way to look at it is maybe choose our friends with as much care as we choose something prized. Think about it. Do they support us? Do they give us joy? And if they don't, then is it worth our while spending so much time and energy with them? But similarly, if we find a friend who does give us joy, who supports us, who helps us, keep them, look after them, because they will be hard to come by. It's not as easy as all of that. Recognising time and energy are valuable to us. And what I mean by that is sometimes we like to give, we like to help, but only give as much as you can afford. Because if you're always giving, then where do you replenish a lot of that? Hopefully you've got good friends, but if not, then that can be problematic. Dealing with it as well. Now, this one I want to explain a little bit more, because I don't mean, oh, just get on with it and pull yourself together.
We don't say that on the show, do we?
No, exactly. What I mean by dealing with it is facing it. A lot of the time, something unpleasant happens and we go, I don't want to think about that. But actually, again, it's the vulnerability, accepting the vulnerability. If we look at it, reflect on it and think, oh, wow, why did that happen? We might be able to avoid it happening again in future.
That's right.
One other thing is just when you remember to stand up for yourself, do it from a place of recognising your value, not from a place of wanting somebody else to suffer or somebody else to lose, because that puts a very different weight into what it is you're saying. So if you can recognise your value, that helps. The last thing I would want to add is when we're trying to help other people as well, is to recognise that it's all very well to say, oh, you know, when life gives you lemons, just make lemonade. Linehan, who is a very recognised clinician who brought together the idea of dialectic behavioural therapy, DBT, said you often need sugar to make lemonade, and some people don't have that understanding of sweetness of life because they haven't had that kindness, that compassion shown to them. So when we're helping, it doesn't hurt to offer that kindness to them.
Definitely. Audrey, thank you so much, my darling. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you.